We're Black and Curious. I'm Kandron.
I'm always taking a sip now. It's Dehjai. Hey.
Hello. All right, we're back. If you've never been here before, we do pop culture and real life and the cross section between the two. Today we have a pop culture, real life, classic intersection. We are going to talk about Married at First Sight. We have already discussed Steve and Noi in the past.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it yet, go back to part one. I will leave it in the cards above. The conversation around Steve and Noi has sort of changed for me.
Hold on, pause. Before you even get into the meat of the story, did you know that Married at First Sight is now on Netflix?
No.
So your girl's fitting to binge watch. Carry on.
Okay. What season do they start with on Netflix?
I think they start with one. My work friend told me that like we need to watch this so we can talk about it at work. So I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna start this weekend because he's
The
waiting.
earlier seasons are a lot better. I would say up till Charlotte, then I would skip over the return to Atlanta.
Okay.
I think it was the return to Atlanta next. No. Charlotte, then whatever was next was kind of like eh. And then New Orleans was excellent. And then everything after New Orleans has just been a shit show. So
Good to know.
there you go.
Well, maybe I'll do like my own little review of the show.
Yeah, that would be cute. Okay, so first of all, at first we were kind of like, oh well, maybe Steve's got a little bit saved. Steve got money.
He gives that energy.
I'm convinced he gives I don't care. I am unbothered about money
Mm-hmm.
energy that only somebody with money can give. Also, on the after party episode with Keisha Knight Pulliam, he mentions that he has actually sold a company and he has developed apps for other companies, and that he all has all of these wide-ranging tech skill sets that all just screamed money to me. And
Hello.
like, do I think he has $100 million in the bank? No, I don't. However, he has enough money to be able to
Live
make
good.
live good and make calculated decisions about what he does or does not want to do next.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I think he's loaded. Now here's the extra conversation that arises. It's roles within the household. So Steve and Noi are having conversations about, not necessarily gender roles, but just like who does what.
Mm-hmm.
And generally he's like, I'm happy to like cook and happy to like do a lot of stuff around the house because I'm home all day and I'm not working, and she is, but she feels like he should do everything. And he's like, no, you can help me clean, like you can clean like one of the bathrooms.
Yeah.
And her refrain is just like, well, what do you do all day? And it's like, if so, my question was, right,
So I got the money. That's the fuck I do all day. Okay, I'm sitting on
right,
a whole
that's my
bunch of debt.
question. If your partner has the money but isn't necessarily working and is still contributing to the household, do they does the working party still owe labor to the household? Like, how does that work? Because typically when we think about a stay-at-home partner, we
Yeah.
think of somebody who is not working but also not bringing income.
Right.
We think
And
of
that's
their
not
role as being solely the caretaker of the home. But if the person is also providing income,
I feel like, so if my partner was shit, what's his name? I was about to call him Noy. What is his name again?
Steve,
Steve.
Steve,
If my partner was a Steve, in the sense that like I know his story, he worked in tech, he had a company that he sold, and then he decided, I don't know what I really want to do. I'm gonna take some time off. I wouldn't have issue with that,
yeah,
in the sense that that tells me that you know how to structure and plan your life and to take care of yourself and your affairs, right? You know how
yeah,
to
of
adult
course.
and do so
Mm-hmm.
well, right? So when it comes down to like household chores and shit like that, like because he's home, yeah, like wash clothes, clean the bathroom, clean the kitchen, or hire somebody.
That's where I was going.
Like I don't have any issue, like if you don't want to do it, okay, we have the funds to hire someone, because I'm still
Yeah.
working whatever my career is. I make a decent living doing what I do. And then you already have enough to cover all the basics. So then we can chip in to hire a housekeeper.
Yeah.
That's my thinking. But again,
I agree. I agree. And if you watch our luxury
collectively,
wish list, which I will link above, you will know that we both very much get on board with housekeeping. Um,
like I want to hire a bag now, but I'm trying to budget because I don't know if I'm gonna move yet.
yeah.
Like,
No, I agree. Totally agree with you on the hiring help piece. I think Noi just, and I've said this from the beginning, I think Noi is just irritated with seeing him all day because she's working, and somebody walking around your house that's not, and just leisurely laying on the couch like, what you doing, is annoying.
mhm.
So I feel like Steve, even if Steve just goes out for a couple of hours with the dog, or goes and attends like a little event or something, or even just stays out of her sight line for the majority of the day, or like they have a second bedroom, like maybe give Noi the second bedroom so her office stuff doesn't have to sit in the living room.
Oh.
um yeah, I don't know why they aren't using the second bedroom. I think they all have a second bedroom, but so that her office stuff doesn't have to be in the living room, she can move over there so she doesn't have to see him all day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what this is all about. And I think she is, part of her background is that she's a refugee.
Yep.
So
That
in
makes a
her,
difference.
yeah, and her childhood was kind of unstable.
Mm-hmm.
So she sees stability as 9 to 5. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to her that the money is there, or it doesn't matter to her if there are opportunities to make money in some other way, or make just as much money as you would doing a 9 to 5 as a contractor. She doesn't want to hear that. She wants someone who's working a 9 to 5 because that is what she sees as stability.
I'm like,
So
bro, you
to
finna
me,
get
this wasn't really a match, because the way Steve is living is a specific type of living.
wealth.
And you have, and not just wealth, but like this idea, like we talked about in our previous video, of like being intentional, be having the flexibility and the luxury really of being intentional about the work you take, not having to clock in every day, having a little bit of wiggle room. Like that is a specific thing when you're used to seeing people work 9 to 5, and you've only known of people working hard as it being a 9 to 5.
Child, let's talk about that. As people who come from working, as women, Black women who come from working class families,
Yeah.
when we're not even really living like whatsoever the life that Steve has, but
Correct.
the
Yet for
access to
me.
other things,
Yet
right?
for me.
Hello, say that, friend. Um, the access to the some of the things that he has or he's doing, we have available to us. And I think that working class people, to include immigrants and immigrant families, that it's this like drone of like hard work.
Yeah.
Like you have to hard work. And I think also like in American culture, oh shoot, I forgot to turn my phone off, sorry y'all. In American culture, hard work is a huge thing. It's a part of the American dream, right? If you
Definitely.
work hard, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you can be a millionaire, which is fucking not true. And this is something that I have kind of been like mulling over the last couple of weeks, especially around this idea that like we as Americans, not to exclude some of the immigrants that come in, but as Americans, our system is set up from childhood, from the start of school until you graduate, to learn how to sit somewhere for 8 hours in a day and get all this work done. Basically, we're trained to be workers, whereas like some of our friends who are immigrants to this country, their parenting is totally different. Like I'll dare say, like a lot of my associates and friends that are immigrants of African parents, from the different, countries, they have a different mindset as it relates to work and education, even though theirs is still can be still just as strict as ours. Like you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, you know, like those huge engineer, like those huge money-making roles. But the way in which they are indoctrinated about themselves, like the biggest thing that I have noticed is like for them, education is a gift because it's not something that it's just not a part of the everyday society. So if you were able to be afforded, like if your parents worked hard enough to be able to afford for you and your siblings to go to school, then the outcome should be for you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Yeah, you should be excellent.
Yes. And so like here in America, it's not you should be excellent, it's you should be a worker. And not saying that our parents are necessarily putting this trope on us, but more so like the societal norms. It's been that way since the inception of like education systems for the masses. So it's interesting nonetheless. Like
it is.
I appreciate where we are in the sense of being able to have some of the access that Steve has, but at the same token, it's just kind of like for, like you said, they're a mismatch. For the two of them to come together and her having a background of being a child of immigrant parents or being an immigrant, he's never going to see the value in his mindset, which is wealth. Like wealthy people don't believe in working hard in the way that average working class people do. Or those.
A prime example is like, how far do I want to get in trouble here? A prime example is that the Charleston show. What is it called?
Southern Charm Charleston.
Southern Charm Charleston. Yeah. Like
that show's a mess, but I watch it.
It's a mess too. It is a mess. Shep just does nothing all day and has zero problem with doing
but
nothing.
He makes money, which is
all day
to me. Yeah, he talks about it in passing, like, I made like $10,000 on this thing that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, but it's because of the access to generational wealth that they have,
Him and the other one, that his mom has like a butler. What is his name?
Whitney.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, he really is it. Even though Whitney has companies, he's also like chilling.
Yeah. and I mean, this got a lot deeper than I had intended, but like, on the reunion last year, Shep is actually very liberal, which I was surprised about, incredibly surprised about. And he was just kind of like, yeah, my family did terrible things. My family had slaves. Like, that is how we have money. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was very like
raised Charleston,
clear-eyed about it and very like, yeah, like I hate that part of my history, but that is what it is, whereas other people like Catherine were very much like, oh my God, when her ancestors, monument was taken down, his racist monument was taken down, she just was like, ugh. Like she was just had a different view about it, but Shep was just very clear-eyed about it. But so to your point, like a lot of people don't feel like that about money.
No,
that you have to like constantly be in pursuit of it. You don't constantly have to work super hard, like, and that's the energy that I'm looking to access in the coming.
Really and truly, 100%. And I think like this conversation, like you said, is taking a turn for real, but it's important. Like, it is really hard to switch to that mindset. I think for me specifically, like, stupid example, but real basic. Yesterday, I had a girls' night out, and I haven't really done much of that because of the pandemic. And my friend was like, said she wanted sushi. So I'm like, okay, I don't really do the sushis like that. So let me find something.
Not my favorite either.
I mean, what I had was really good. I put it on a reel for Black and Curious, so y'all can check it out. But we went to Red Salt Chop House and Sushi, and it is way out yonder of the city and more of like what people consider an affluent area. So the pricing was different.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I don't do this all the time, but this is something that I aspire to. This is the lifestyle that I want to lead and live and, whatever. Yeah. For my friend, it was like, okay, so this is great. I really enjoyed it, but like, let's go somewhere else less expensive. And that expensive piece is like a thing of like, if you constantly think that things are out of your range, then that's where you're going to stay. And that is an example of like working class people in terms of like mentality. Like, yeah, it was more on the pricier end of places that we would go, but it is not out of the capability of your means, in the sense of like, if you aspire to have more and do more and experience more, then you'll be open to it. Like, I'm changing my mindset and my language around money, specifically as it relates to having grown up as a child of working class people and not really knowing that this type of living was possible.
Yeah.
This was like a perception of the people that you like. You watch people on TV and you think, oh, well, they live like that, but like, that's not possible for someone like me. And that's not true.
Yeah. The funny thing about me is, though, I don't think that I ever thought that it wasn't for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was raised in like a very like very regular, degular Southern home, my
Yeah.
mom single parent home. Even with that, like I never thought that anything was necessarily out of my reach. Um, but again, there was always that work hard component to it. Like you had
Right.
to work hard
Do X, Y,
for
and
that.
Z. Yeah. Totally agree.
Um, so
I feel like as a youth specifically, like I would look at things that people did, and a lot of stuff was on because I was a latchkey kid. Like, I wasn't a child of a single parent, but my father was gone. Like I said earlier, he was gone on the weekend. So that we have another episode where we're talking about long distance relationships. So make sure you watch that. But my father was a long distance driver, so he was only home on the weekend. So during the week, it was just me and my mom and my alleged sibling. And in that time frame, like, I always say to my friends who had a single parent home, I kind of have a similar experience, with the
yeah,
exception
of
of
course.
like, I had a dad on the weekends, like, um, and in growing through that, I feel like I spent a lot of time idolizing what I watched on television, and that made me feel like, oh, like, probably, which is part of why I wanted to be, when I was young, like a singer or an actress or something like that, because I wanted to be able to do the glamorous things that I was watching on TV. I didn't know anybody immediately who was like a doctor or a lawyer or any of the professions that are acceptable, right, to like our loved ones and elders in terms of career paths, who had access to things, basically. Like, I didn't really see that growing up.
Yeah.
So I think I probably would say that I understand some of Noi's experience, and like you too, like understanding like some of her experience as it relates to the idea of like working hard. That's something that for the last like 5-6 years I have been like, I don't believe in that, because
Yeah.
working hard don't mean that you're gonna have the means that you think.
That's the thing about me, and I think in this way I am my mother's child. Like my mother, even though there was a work hard component to it, we had a very full life. And I
Mm-hmm.
was very clear on that you can have a very full life no matter your circumstances. So we went out and had nice dinners, just the two of us. We had especially like as I got older, my mom made more money. We
Yeah.
had a cleaning service every other week.
I'll
Like
tell
while
you,
I was in
it
high
wasn't
school,
like to me.
right? That's what I'm saying. Toward the end of my high school years, we had like a cleaning service. Um, and just seeing like, over time, we got more luxurious things. And nothing was like over the top luxury, but like my mom always instilled in me two things really: hard work, of course, because yes, but
Yeah.
also she instilled in me like, you don't have to do everything. Like, I don't have a superwoman complex whatsoever. My mom is very much like, her thing was, it wasn't the hard work for the sake of hard work. It was a hard work for the sake of getting the things that you want. It was never the hard work for the sake of status or having an excessive amount of money. It was like, you don't like to clean, that is your thing that you don't like to do. So
Read.
here's how this works: you need to find a career that helps you to have a cleaning service.
Facts.
So I always thought about it more that way. It was never about amassing a ton of money for me. I mean, yes, I want to have money, but it was very much that. Like, oh, you like nice things, so you got to have a certain type of job to be able to get those things.
Before that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't
Like,
think
it
I
was,
had that switch in
so
thinking until I was probably like in my early 30s. And I feel like
yeah,
I had that conversation because she was like, all right, friend, you hired a housekeeper. And I was like, yeah, but I did it because I'm like, I was having a lot of back pain and stuff. So I couldn't do some of the things.
yeah.
So like that was my justification, which is dumb. Bitch, you just don't like to
You don't
clean.
need one. Yeah.
You don't need one.
You
Like
don't
if you make the money, you have the means, do what is most easy for you, most feasible.
yeah.
But yeah.
And I honestly even attribute that. And we have some conversations, a series of conversations about like life design and things like that coming up. But that way of thinking, I think that was a gift, honestly. And I don't know that my mom realized that she was giving that to me. But
Yeah.
now I can see things and I'm like, okay, this isn't the only way I can make money. Like, yes, I have this degree, but also like there are a million ways to get it. And I'm like, okay, I also have this skill set, or I also have this thing. And it's really about making the money to have the lifestyle that I desire. It's not about,
Yeah.
you know, amassing some huge whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just about being at peace with my life and my lifestyle. And that's what it's all about. So I'm like, oh, I'm starting to explore like what it would look like if there was no 9 to 5, what it would look like if I was, you know, kind of more of a freelancer. Like, what does that look like when I have other streams of income coming in? Like, maybe I just need the freelancing to sustain me while I build these other sources of income without the stress of the 9 to 5. Like, that is part of what I'm exploring, you know? And the fact that I've been able to save a ton of money over the last year or two, it's like, well, maybe now's the time. Maybe now's the time to pull the trigger on that. Or maybe I can plan it for another whatever, and I can pull the trigger on that next year or whatever. You know, so I think with
I'm
this
not mad,
context in
man.
mind,
I aspire to you.
I understand where Steve is coming from of like working 9 to 5 is not my goal. My goal is to have a fulfilled life. And whatever I have got to do to make that a reality is what I'll do. But I'm not going to work a second more than is required for that.
Facts. I think we can stop right there because Kendra just dropped the whole mic on us. So let us know down in the comments what you think about if you're watching MAFS and you know the storyline with Steve and Noi, and what you think about the possibility of creating the life that you want. Like, how do you go about doing that? Of course, let us
know about the gender, I mean, not the gender, but the household division of labor argument that's going on within their home. Drop down and let us know.
And of course, follow us on all of our social media outlets and check out blackandcurious.com. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.